Hi. So we're at the Singapore School, Singapore International School, and the Singapore International School is an Ivy school which has been very, very proactive in all kinds of wellness fields, and they actually have taken a huge step in the direction of mental health, and they've identified it as a structure which needs to be worked on, and they implemented it themselves as well. So I'd like to take a moment to actually talk to some of the key stakeholders of the organization and the school, and also get their ideas about what mental health challenges they face and what they're doing to alleviate or at least curb the onset of mental health illnesses in their children. So we'll first go to the principal, Mr. Dubeshi, Kaisa Dubeshi. He's been very involved in this space and been very involved with children for a long time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. All right. I think when we look at a school and as a community of 500 students and not 501, then it becomes a responsibility to make not just learning, but the whole education process of developing the whole child as our responsibility. So we have 109 staff members, and therefore that ratio works out well. And within the different abilities which the child has, quite obviously there is the emotional aspect of it, and to us developing the child emotionally is also a very important issue. So we have personal counseling cell, we have a special education needs cell, and in some areas they obviously have to come together, right? So sometimes you have a child with ADHD, then sometimes you have a child with special education needs, and sometimes it's going into discipline areas. So there comes the personal counseling. It has to be looked at holistically. So when we look at our program in itself, in the IB program, where we talk about approaches to teaching and learning, and we have self-management, in which there is the issue of mindfulness. And this is becoming far more a requirement now as we keep looking at our students, and it appears to be more than any other part of part of century which I'm talking about. Say in the 80s and 70s, and been in this sphere for about 30 odd years, that you kind of need to raise awareness on this issue.
Yes.
On one hand. So the challenges are to raise awareness, have transparent system, and yet maintain confidentiality. So how do you kind of work that path is what is, I say, a journey.
Yes.
Right? So in it involves 3 steps: awareness, understanding, and appreciation.
Yes.
So in mental health, we are right now at the stage of awareness and moving on to the understanding aspect. Now, be it of any kind, and to make the child understand, like, your nutrition, your mental health, your physical is all connected, right? And at the same time to make it a part of a very important part of it, because there is this emotion quotient which we call it EI also. And that aspect does make you a kind of a human being or an educated man.
Yes.
You are. So to us as a school, I think it's a very important step, and we have taken those, I would say, baby steps into that arena, and I think that's a journey in understanding the child.
Amazing.
And making others understand.
Yes. And it gives the child also a lot more understanding of themselves when they are mirrored something that's happening with them intellectually, emotionally, and physically. So it provides them a basis from which they can also work. Because a lot of times they haven't understood how to comprehend what is happening. So the more we communicate with our children, the more they comprehend what is happening with them. So we also have counselors from the school here. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pramila Agarwal, and I'm the special educator here. we deal with students with learning disability, ADD and ADHD. So here what we do is we do have students who come to us and when they are not aware of their strength, because the society does not accept them, because they come with a taboo saying that okay, the child has learning disability, we can say dyslexia, dysgraphia and dyscalculia. But I can proudly say that yes, I'm in a setup where we do give, we are given the chance that by Kaiser sir that we can communicate very freely with these kids. And there's a system that we follow in a school. First thing is that yes, the mental health part of the child who has been diagnosed with dyslexia. Now, if I talk about dyslexia, again, issues with reading, writing, and spellings. The child who comes in school does not have these basic skills, and now he's expected to do a lot of academic tasks, which is emotionally disturbing. He's not able to do those things. So what we do is we make them aware of their strength. That is very important, that yes, you can do it. And we have many examples in the school that the way, the child when they have come to the school, and right now if you see their performance, it's really amazing. Because we make them believe that yes, you can do it. So it's like deal with their emotion, spread the awareness in the environment that yes, this is a child and you need to support. Peer pressure, that has to be handled very carefully, because if the child is not accepted by the friend, he's going to find it very difficult. So again, this is one area where we deal. And in our school, it is very clear, open, and we discuss these things, and we make sure that the child, as rightly said, the child knows that he has these concerns and these are his strengths, and he works around through his strength and he's able to excel in academics. So this is the way we work, and we do have a lot of programs in school which we work with the child and he's able to do it.
That's amazing. And so again, we go back to the fact that we are creating wealth within that child, and that wealth is the positives that the child has, and you bring that up so that they can deal with that. That's amazing.
We do have a student now, he's in grade 12, and he got a distinction.
Amazing.
Where there was a counselor, the parent did share this with me, with the counselor said that someone from outside, that the child will not able to do very well in academics. And again, the same thing, acceptance, explaining, and all those strategies that we used to work with the child, and now the child is doing IB and he got a distinction.
Fantastic.
So this is the
very proud
make-believe thing in the child.
Yeah.
So his mental health, he's like pretty happy, and he's got a scholarship also, and he's flying US after his exam.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
great.
it's the self-identity,
Yes.
At some point, your own identity, to
Yes.
discover yourself
Yes.
within the realm of your surrounding, and it's the attitude which defines you rather than the circumstances, So it's a whole lot of
And I think one of the most important things I found with children is when they find that people accept them for who they are, and they can experiment with who they are without getting judged, they are so much more open to blossoming into the people that they are. And the differences is what makes a person special. So I often find that children, I remember when I had a premature baby, and the teachers kept telling me, go put him in some reading classes, put him in occupation therapy. And cut to grade 4, which he's in now, I mean, the teachers are were telling me that, we're so honored to have your child in our class because he comes with so much, different thoughts. And we would not have thought that. The teachers that were talking about it before were not even saying things like that. But it's that encouragement, that whole ability to be yourself, don't worry about being like someone else. So finding your own brain and really working with that. I'm glad your school is doing that.
Yeah.
Would you also like to introduce yourself?
We are working as a team in special needs department, and I'm Misha Jain. I'm also a special educator. I think the school is wonderful when it comes to spreading the awareness about children with special needs, and how inclusion is in the school. So we are working towards being inclusive. We are spreading awareness about, we are giving the presentation to teachers. We are sensitizing the teachers as to be inclusive, and also the students. So I have also come across the other CBSE schools where they're stigmatized. So where you cannot do that, you are lazy, all those labels are used. But whereas in our school, we are very open to inclusion.
Yeah.
we always promote them as to you can do this, and they are never segmentized. They are never, they're not marginalized, but they are involved in the teaching and participation, and I think that is very important in the school.
Amazing. Would you also like to introduce yourself to one of the cameras?
Okay, so I am Kunjan Dedia as a counselor here. So I personally try and deal with students who are having personal and behavioral issues. Generally, with our modern life challenges, we are moving too fast, and children are also forced to move too fast. They are not really in touch with their emotions, and somehow it comes out in their behavior issues. So mostly it happens that when a child is coming to me, it is coming with some behavior issue where they are also unaware that the root which is lying down there is probably some emotion. So firstly, I try to, just bring them in touch with their emotions, which is the most important there. Because otherwise they just have a vocabulary. I'm freaking out, I am feeling sad, I am just in a bad mood. So the first thing I do in my room is I have a poster with all possible smiley faces having an emotion word. So I just tell them, okay, what do you relate yourself with? So that's a great icebreaker for me. And then they just come up, they talk, and then they realize that, oh, we were having some emotional concern here. So generally, whenever the behavioral aspects are as seen as issues, we do encourage them to reflect over it. We have something like, okay, let's write about your reflection over the behavior, because sometimes they are just acting out of spur of moment, just impulsively. Fine, you didn't think that time. You might as well think here, where you have unconditional listening and a comfortable place where you
safe environment.
Safe environment. So that's why they do get in touch with their emotions. And generally the things are like, even with the parents, either they are helicopter parents or there are family discords. So these two are also coming up higher and higher. Children are really confused about their emotional mindset and mental health. So I try to facilitate in all possible areas where I can talk to the teachers, talk to the parents, because a child is just reacting to the environment and the parenting, disciplining styles, all these factors. So these are their formative years where they have to learn coping to the disturbances they have and upsets they have in their surrounding. So I encourage them to cope well with whatever they have.
And how open have you noticed that the parents are to coming in for a therapy session if you have found that there could be a situation?
Once you have to form the trust and faith, and once that is achieved, the parents are completely giving in later. Like, okay, you do whatever you feel like, we are ready to, take how much. Yeah, exactly. So they are quite proactive in that case. I can see slowly, gradually the stigma is going away.
Another thing I wanted to ask was, in terms of peer pressure, you mentioned peer pressure. How do you specifically cope with getting other children sensitized to special needs children?
What we do here is, for me, only the child is not important. I become friends with his friends also.
Okay.
So that is very important because I'm not supposed to only accept that child, because I'll say, okay, me and my child, it's not that way. So me, my child, and his friends. So we try to build a rapport with his friends also. So when I have built a rapport with his friends, my acceptance has taken place everywhere. Okay, when my acceptance has taken place everywhere, so these kids knows that now this particular child, this child A, is going to work with me, and I will make sure that I just explain them very nicely that, see, he's very bright, but he has some issues, so I'm going to just help him out, and he's looking for help from all of you also. So as a friend, we should help each other. So we have to actually come down to their level and talk. And this is the way, we make sure that the child is accepted by the peers. Other thing is that very good thing that we do in the school is the in-class support. So we even provide the child with in-class support. So what I do, I'll sit, my child will sit, and his friends are sitting. So, they'll feel that, okay, she's not a teacher, but she's a friend.
Yeah.
So once that acceptance has happened among the peers,
Yeah.
my acceptance,
Yeah.
because in school I'm a special educator, I deal with students who have got issues or they are weak and all. So I have to remove that thing from
Yeah.
their mind.
Yeah.
So that acceptance, and then we have in-class support, then we have one-on-one support. The child starts showing improvement. He has to show improvement. It is that way because there is support given to the child, and we work through the strength. We don't work through the weaknesses.
Yes.
So when peer sees that, oh wow, he's doing, ultimately the peers also accept that yes, he can do it.
Yeah.
So we have to show it.
They see the change and
Yes,
then
they see the
accept.
change.
That's
So,
amazing.
and even we do it for higher grades also.
Yeah.
So it's not that we only do for 6th, 7th, 8th. Even I go and support grade 11 kids also.
Wow.
And they are pretty open about it, like okay, hi, saying hello and all these things. So I think once the acceptance has happened, the taboo thing and teasing and all doesn't take place.
Are there any? I remember because we went to a college, so obviously the colleges are slightly older kids. But what the college principal was saying was that there are a lot of children who get very emotionally upset because of relationships and friendships that they
Right.
make. I'm wondering, how do you handle that in this school?
See, yeah, I think what generally, like, this is all emotion and other things related to SEN. But now, if you were to take just children who are not SEN and perhaps look at that, that's the area where Kunjan gets involved more
Yeah, yeah.
than anything. So it's like social skills. It begins with social skills, right? And sometimes their own issue of time management skills, organizational skills, come in their way of, not being timely in their thing, and that evokes anxiety stuff. So you have to deal with that.
Yes.
But the problem, like we often say, like, don't classify somebody lazy,
Yeah.
because that is personalizing it.
Yeah.
The child doesn't get the message.
Yeah.
What is the issue? He has time management. Come on, let's help him getting the time. So there are some study skills also which comes into play, right? Due to which anxiety is created. Then there is of course the emotional aspect. And when you are a teenager, you're growing, right? Changes are happening around you, within
Yes.
you. So that's the time when the personal counseling becomes a little more around people's maturity with their emotions. So what we are trying to put here is like, just like as you develop, your physical fitness, right, and your mental alertness when it comes to studying and
Yes.
study skills, same is with emotions, right? So it has to be seen in a holistic
Yes.
aspect. So to
Yes.
that end, I think that's where we are heading towards. So,
amazing.
yeah.
What are some of the? Do they have? Do girls fight a lot more, or do boys fight a lot more? I mean, because generally girls are very emotional at the age when they're growing up. In fact, from a young age,
Yeah.
so they get into a lot of because we do the silent todo where we're actually going and talking to all the kids. The kids are like, yeah, our fights actually really harrow us, and I wonder, at what age does that start then? Do you see it in?
I feel it is more about the manifestation of the same issue. The girls would just respond emotionally and the boys would just take it out on their play or the behavior.
Yeah.
So something like that. But then somewhere it is very similar, and teenage is the crucial one. So both males and females, they are into these issues. And generally I have to, I try and put in aspect where they have to understand the perspective. Like, okay, just listen to the other's perspective, and it is about the behavior and not the person. So in relationships, mostly we tend to, okay, this one, she was very rude to me. Oh no, that was just a sentence spoken to you, a behavior. Maybe she didn't mean it,
Yeah.
So just dissociating the behavior from a person, that somewhat manages.
I also feel that the school is moving towards more acceptance. So, be it any fraternity, teacher fraternity, student body, we are moving towards accepting any person with different learning needs. So, be it ADHD or be it any student who is non-formative in a proper sense, the teacher accepts the child, and the teacher does not label the child.
Yeah.
So, I think at that level, a lot of mental health issues are settled because the child is not picked every time. So, a lot of things are reduced there. And then I think the severe issues are handled individually, and we build on the emotional needs of the child.
Yeah. So one of the things that I am working on with the Polar Foundation is to empower each child to take ownership of their own
Yes.
behavior, attitude, wisdom, and that is crucial because nor you or all of you, none of us are going to be with the child forever.
Self-regulated learning.
Completely self-regulated, but first with the understanding of the fact that you have the power, you're born with the power. And this is a difficult lesson to learn only because, we as parents don't give our children the independence at a young age, like we mentioned earlier, because maybe women don't have it, so it's difficult. But I don't mean that. I don't understand how people, but the children are very insular, and they've not learned to take that power. They allow people to mistreat them because of the fact that they think it's okay because they're younger. The problem in India specifically is that we teach our children, we force our children to respect people who are not good, kind to them. And that is something that actually perpetuates mental health issues at an older age. Well, I deal a lot with older people.
Yeah.
And when I regress them back, one of the key things that I have to regress them to is the time that their parents didn't listen to them. Or their parents didn't understand them, or their parents didn't treat them properly. That's what actually gets them to the level where they are completely unable to cope with daily life because they are second guessing everything that they did, or they're second guessing any opinion, any decision that they've taken. They second guess it, which promotes massive discordance between themselves with themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about me with another person, but me with myself.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the key aspects of mental health that I want everybody who's dealing with mental health to focus on. Focus on the child taking a decision, understanding the decision, and be okay with that decision.
Yeah.
Regardless of what peer pressures, parental pressures, a teacher perspective. Regardless of that, as long as they have an opinion which is well thought out, about a 360 degree view on their opinion. And that becomes crucial in a child's development. And most of the schools are also not looking at that. It's always about,
Teacher.
and we've got a preconceived notion of what is right, what is wrong. And that preconceived notion, even though we're accommodating, comes out. So that is what one needs to remove any kind of mental health illnesses. So yes, when you're talking to the child, you can talk about, so I mean I have 3 children, so when I talk to my child and he's doing something that I don't approve of because they're constantly hitting each other, like 2 boys, they're very close in age. And I'm like, listen, sit down, like what is going on here? Why are you hitting each other? They might have, oh, he does this to me, he does that to me. Because they've got a retort for everything. And if I say, but I don't want you to talk, quiet, sit in the corners and let's focus on, it's not going to work. So we disassociate them, take them out of the place, take one child and say, what's the problem? If the child has a view about it, I first get into, and what did you do to make this problem worse? How did you add to this problem? So you give ownership back. So it's all about, even in pain, give ownership to them.
Yes.
Even in success, give ownership to them. That we are all doing very well. But in pain, give ownership to them is what I find is a strategy that makes them understand that they're in charge of their life.
Yeah.
So, so that is something that I want to drill into every child. And I think personally that is very important, but you guys will have your own point of view.
That's actually exactly what I try and do when we are reflecting over their behaviors. So generally they tend to go into the blame game. He did it first, he did it first. So I just thought, okay, fine, I feel there is a role, both the side it is played. So might as well, let's talk about what I did.
Yeah.
So their speech has to be including I.
Yeah.
That's where it starts, okay, I start taking owns, fine,
Yes.
So they get into that acceptance
Yes.
mode that, okay, fine, I did it, so and so thing. So then it becomes a little more easier game and we are out of that blame.
Exactly. That's perfect. I'm so happy you're doing this.
Yeah.
So we're talking about mental health being done like that, we're talking about nutrition being done like that. I'm in charge of what I eat.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of my body, I'm in charge of my being, I'm in charge of my health, I'm in charge of the wealth that I'm generating within myself to be able to give to society.
Exactly.
So you're giving ownership back to every child. And I'm so glad that your school is doing this because most other schools are like I don't think we're ready for this yet. So I'm very happy that you are doing this. Any tips that you think, since you've been working with children in a school environment for so long and I have not? I mean, I have a foundation, so I've been from the outside. when we go to other schools, what do you think are the key elements that we should take to those schools to have them also join the same platform of wellness and good form, good behavior, good being, and good citizens?
See, at the macro level, it begins with, the smaller issues which affect the school. We call that discipline. So the model of discipline is important. The good old model was the model of obedience. The obedience. I say so, so you do.
Yeah.
Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir.
Yeah.
Right? So that at the end, the child says, alright, it's okay to do inappropriate or things which perhaps I should not do, so long as I don't get caught.
Yeah.
Because it's a punishment.
Yeah.
Right? So first, as a policy, you have to take the model which is responsibility model.
Yes.
That's the discipline. And then you extend it to every area. So the responsibility model says there are no punishments in life. There are consequences
Yeah.
of your acts.
Yeah.
And you have to take the responsibility for your acts.
Yeah.
And when you do some good acts, there are good consequences. And
Yes.
when you are doing inappropriate or things which perhaps are not helpful, then there are consequences which are not good.
Yes.
So the discipline policy is based on that. So
Yeah.
it gives you leeways. You're not, the child is not a criminal,
Yes.
right? So that
Yeah.
and A and B, not everybody needs to know what the child has done.
Yeah.
It's not like a Taliban thing.
Yeah.
Okay, like this guy smoked.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
And the public flogging or what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So now that piece becomes a little tricky, because
Humiliation is not required.
Yeah,
not
no.
humiliation.
but yet the pressure would be, how will people know you have acted? Shouldn't people see that when there was something inappropriate or some discipline breach done, that the school has taken some action? Now that's where the call comes. Do people really need to know that? Or do people just need to know that yes, there is something and there are consequences being given
Yes.
for whatever reasons? And that's between the child and
Yeah.
the school, and he's done something and he's responsible for it.
Yeah.
Are you getting it? And therefore, the whole way of looking at, what are the consequences. So there are the positive consequences also, where you kind of appreciate. Appreciation is a great motivator.
Yes.
So you get the positives in your discipline.
Yeah.
So it begins from there actually.
Okay.
And then if you can now say, okay, now if that is the case, then you take responsibility for your eating, and then you take responsibility for the way what you speak to others. So then the control, so it begins from I, me, mine, my neighborhood,
Yeah.
but from something as basic as, like in my PYP classes, if you go, they have something called essential agreement.
Essential agreement.
Essential, where the children devise their own expectations, if I may say so, and there's an essential.
Amazing.
So
Building consensus.
yes, and they say, okay, do you think we should do like this? It will hurt somebody. So okay, in the class, do you think everybody should have an opportunity? Yes. So we'll raise our hands or something. So they build their own grounds. So then the teacher says, if there is some breach of that, then the teacher points out, hey, there's something going wrong here. Do you want us to change this? Or should we relook at it? Or do you think? And so from that age, they learn to take responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
So now if you move from the essential agreement that you don't hurt each other, and you put that in here, so it has to be in the system.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
So you have to have a policy.
Yeah.
Then you have to have practices, such as an essential. Right?
And what's amazing is that they are building their own essential
Yeah.
agreement. That's amazing.
So it's not.
So nobody's
rules and
telling
regulations.
it to
So
them.
in our good old days, we had rules and
Yes.
regulations. Then we thought, let's change this to expectations. So
Yes.
it's like somebody great, is putting it out there, laying it out there.
Yes.
Here there is an essential agreement. Agreement means two parties have agreed.
Yes.
All of them agree. And often what they do is they put their fingerprints or they sign on it. As if they're signing
Yes,
it.
yeah.
So Now if you take from there and you enhance those areas, you keep enhancing and incorporating everything in this agenda. So as a community, then what community are we will build? There will be challenges, no doubt,
Yes.
for which we have systems,
Yes.
maybe the counselor and all have to come in, but there needs to be a policy, there needs to be a procedure. And at the grassroots levels, things have to happen. I think that's what we need to. And then in the curriculum, where we are telling you there is self-management as one of the approaches to teaching and learning. So I don't just teach math, I also teach self-management, that's time management. So a lot of these aspects, the emotional aspects, which perhaps come out from all this, can be addressed.
It's a holistic teaching, because before that when we were kids, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
We just had studies,
Yeah.
right? Now it's about the person,
Yes.
the child.
So you can't, I mean, what I'm trying to say is we can't, I can't shred this tie and say this part is geography, this part
Yes,
is history,
yes.
this part is art,
Yes.
this is science, come on, let's.
Yeah. It's all forms of cohesive unit.
So it has to come as a design, as a
Yeah.
plot or a plan.
Amazing, yeah.
And that's how, I think we need to look at it. Therefore, a lot more time has to be given to all this aspect.
But if you have to augment this,
Yes.
it's definitely going to bring about that whole mindfulness in the teaching
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, of
So-
course, the children, it'll filter to the children when they
so
are
it's-
understanding.
Yeah, there's policy, practices in your teaching, right? When you're eating, when you go to the dining hall, well, that's about good eating, right? And where you should take the opportunity of using that area to talk about what good nutrition is about. So perhaps you didn't notice it, but when you go down, like you eat this has so many calories and all that kind of thing. But at the same time, not create anxiety about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that
Yeah.
you are aware
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
you're eating, there's something called balanced diet, and why do you eat? What do you want to eat? Why is mom forcing you to have milk? Why should she? Should she or should you have? That's
Yeah.
kind of a journey,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So it comes, and
Yeah.
that light comes in slowly, because education, unfortunately, is not like a pill.
Yeah.
It's not like a pill given to you and next day you're kind of okay. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And so whether it's emotional or intelligence or physical, it's a growth over time, isn't it?
Yes.
So every age and every stage in the child's life brings in different challenges in all these areas.
Yes.
And you mature, right? And you grow and you have your own sense of wisdom of how you do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's what we would say.
Yeah.
You
That's-
have to bring it and not treat now. Like for example, I try and make sure that this is not a department in itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're sending some guy there.
Yeah.
Now it is their responsibility. It is all our
Yeah.
response, and also to them to make them understand that look, we are part of the same community, so we all have to
Yeah.
have our little pieces put in,
Yeah.
and let's not forget the big picture.
Yeah.
So to hold people to the big picture,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Because otherwise people are doing. It's like somebody saying, "I teach my geography." Well, that's what it is. But to tell the teacher that you don't teach the curriculum really, you teach the child.
Yeah.
Right? The child is the focus. So in every aspect of the child is the focus. And then I think it works. So there's the big picture, and there are those nuts and bolts which go.
Yeah. I mean, my kids, when they start fighting, I always tell them that, okay, now I think your coping strategies are not up to the mark. Please go talk to the counselor in your school. No, I do. And then I'll ask, did you go to the counselor? No, not today. Tomorrow I'll go. And then they go. So now it's become where one of them, the middle one, is getting shouted at by the older one, and the little one says, I think we need to book an appointment tomorrow. I think we need to go see the Cindy. But it's really funny that they're so open with it because of the fact that, it's just normal. Like if you are unable to cope with something, go talk to someone. She'll give you some coping strategies that you can build out and you'll be fine, So it's become like, I don't think it would have happened in my days, where I could, if I was like behaving badly, they said go see somebody and I'd be like, okay. Actually, I don't even think I knew about counseling when I was in school. Because we never had that.
Right.
So, you behave badly, you we're out of the class. You're standing outside.
It was the obedience one.
Yeah. So, but we didn't know we had a mental issue. Now, I never thought I had a mental issue when I was in
It was an
school.
obedience model. You see,
Yes.
you either did it.
So even if I was disobedient, it was fine. It was fine to be disobedient as long as. Actually, sure, it was good because it was okay to be disobedient as long as you weren't hurting somebody else. It was fine. Nobody actually lashed out at you. But I find it so much better that I don't have to worry about my kids. I can just say, go learn some strategies. Because these are all skills that we have to adopt. And as soon as the parents understand that these are the skills that the child has to learn, even they won't feel like, मेरा बच्चा ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है? मैंने क्या गलत किया हुआ है? Parents don't want to hear that also. No? So then they start blaming themselves, and then that is another roller coaster going down.
True.
So, but thank you so much for your time. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I'm gonna try to put all this together for you so that you have it as well. And we talk a little bit more to your children. And if you want to reach out for any reason, please do reach out.
You don't have ask her otherwise off record anything.
Yeah, off record.
Off the record.
Not off.